dream without a plan is just a wish. Today we're talking about the 7th chapter in your Change the World book, which is goal setting. Now, a lot of us, including myself and probably yourself, have big dreams for the future. But today we're going to be turning those dreams into goals and create actionable game plans so that you can begin taking action on your dreams and goals today. The first thing we have to do is stop saying I wish and start saying I will. Instead of saying I wish I could do that, I wish I could go to college, we're going to start saying I will accomplish what I want. I will go to college. And we're going to dive deep into a few strategies that you can use to turn your goals into daily actionable steps. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. To be able to achieve our goals, we need to be able to give them a good structure. When we do this, we can break down our goals into small daily actions and it becomes very, very achievable. Now, one of the strategies that we're going to use today is a strategy called SMART goals. This form of setting up your goals has been used by countless amounts of people across the world, and it has helped me accomplish some of my goals as well. So let's jump right into it. The S in SMART stands for specific. You want to make sure that your goal is very, very specific, and the more specific it is, the clearer path you will have to be able to achieve it. Let's give a quick example. Let's say you were on the football team and you want to say, I want to score more touchdowns this season. Instead of saying more touchdowns, because that might be different from one person to another, what we want to say is, I want to score 10 touchdowns this football season. Let's jump into the next letter in SMART, which is M. Measurable. Make sure your goals are measurable. Now, personally, I think this is the most important part of this SMART strategy because this is where we break our goals down into daily actions. So let's go ahead and think back on the example we just gave. If you want to score 10 touchdowns in a football season and there's 10 games, we need to be able to measure our progress throughout. So that's about 1 touchdown per game that you have to score. That way, halfway through the season, you can see, am I behind? Am I ahead? Or am I right on track on achieving my goals? And measure the progress along the way. The next thing, is this goal attainable? You have to think on your personal resources and the position that you're in, which is why we've been talking over the past couple of videos of positioning yourself in the right place. Now, how does this relate to the example we're talking about right now? If you're not even on the football team, this goal is not attainable. If you're on defense and you want to score 10 touchdowns, it's going to be very difficult. However, if you're a running back or a wide receiver or a quarterback, maybe this goal is achievable and attainable. So that's where the third letter comes in. Let's talk about R in SMART, which is relevant. In this part, you have to think on how this goal will help you in the future and what benefits it will have once you achieve it. If you want to score 10 touchdowns because you might get a scholarship to be able to go and play in the college of your dreams, or maybe scoring 10 touchdowns will push you physically to be able to get healthier, now it becomes a relevant goal in your life. And last but not least, it has to be time-bound. There's a difference between saying I want to score 10 touchdowns and say I want to score 10 touchdowns in 10 games. You have to put a time frame on it. Whether it's a football season, whether it's 1 year, 1 month, 1 week, or 5 years, make sure you know your time frame. Now let's go ahead and look at a couple of examples that I've broken down that might apply to you, and in the end you'll have an opportunity to use this strategy on your personal goals. Let's jump into the examples. In example number 1, we're going to be talking about reading and how you can break down a goal of being able to read a certain number of books in a certain time frame into daily actionable steps. So let's jump into the first part of the SMART goal, which is the S, making it very specific. Instead of saying, I want to read more, put a specific goal on how much more you want to read. In this case, we're gonna say we want to read 12 books in 1 year, which ends up being about a book a month. Now, this is a pile of 12 books. 12 books that I've selected that I'm gonna set the goal for myself to read this year. Now, if you look at the pile, it might seem really intimidating because some books are really big, and once you stack them up, it seems like a lot. But we're gonna break down using the strategy I just showed you, and then we're gonna realize it's not that big and it's very attainable. So let's go into the second part, which is M, measurable. How are we gonna measure our progress throughout this goal? Instead of saying 12 books in a year, let's break it down to only 1 book a month. And if you divide an average of 250 pages per book, divided by 30 days in a month, it ends up being roughly 8 pages per day that we need to read. Now, all of a sudden, this intimidating stack of books becomes a simple 8 pages a day. Let's go into the next one. Is this goal attainable? Do you have the resources necessary? If yes, jump right into it. If not, how can we position ourselves to make it happen? If you have 12 books that you want to read already, perfect. If you need to get a couple, maybe you can ask a friend, or you can find a couple online that are already used. Or another thing that might be a restraint is how much time you have available. If you're just going to school, you might have a lot of time and be able to read those 8 pages a day. But if you're going to school and working a job and doing some extracurricular activities, maybe you need to adjust that goal to 6 books in a year instead of 12. But whatever it might be, in this part you need to realize, is this goal attainable and achievable? Let's go into the next section, which is relevant. Now, it's very obvious how reading can have a lot of benefits for yourself, but for my personal goal, as you've heard in some of my past videos, English was my second language. So being able to read is a big accomplishment for myself, and I know it's gonna open my mind to so many other ideas, and in the end, it's gonna help me with my education and going through college myself. And finally, T, time bound. We need to make sure there's a time frame and a date on when this goal will be achieved. And in this specific case, we're setting this goal for 1 year. So in quick recap, we want to read 12 books in 1 year. And by using this strategy, we've realized all we need to do is read an average of about 8 pages per day. It turns this intimidating stack into something very achievable. Now let's go ahead and jump into example number 2. We'll see you there. Now we're talking and diving deep into a second example, which might be relevant to where you're at today, especially if you're in high school. So let's say we had a dream of buying our first car. Now that might seem like a big dream, and if you remember at the beginning of this video, I said we need to turn those dreams into goals. Stop saying, I wish I could buy my first car, and start saying, I will. Now for this example, the goal setter in mind is gonna want to buy a car that's $6,000. Now we need to remember that when you buy a car, usually you're putting a down payment. So we need to make this goal very specific. Again, step number 1, make the goal very specific. And we need to raise $1,200 for the down payment in 1 year. Now that's our specific goal. Let's go ahead and see how we're gonna measure our progress throughout the way. If you need to raise $1,200 in 1 year, how much is that per month? It ends up being $100 per month. And again, we're gonna divide that by 30 days, and we realize that this big dream that we turned into a goal of buying our first car turns out being all we have to do on a daily basis is make $3 to $4 per day. All of a sudden, this crazy dream becomes very doable. Now, we're gonna go into step number 3. Is this goal attainable? If it is, great, we'll jump right into it. If not, how can we position ourselves to be in a position where this goal can be attainable? So I wanna ask you the question, can you make $3 to $4 per day? Think about the ways that you know how to make money. Whether it's selling something online, having a garage sale, recycling, Maybe you have a job and all you have to do is save the money to be able to achieve this goal. Make sure that you think about all the resources and the tools you have to make this goal a success. The next one, R. Is it relatable? What are the things that you want to get out of it? If you buy this car, is it because it's going to make you happy? It's going to help you get around. Maybe you're going to help your parents by paying for the car yourself. There's a lot of different ways, but you need to think about how this goal is relatable to your life. And last but not least, in this example, of course, we need to have a time frame and make sure it's time bound. There's a deadline on when this goal will be achieved by, and in this specific scenario, again, we're looking at a goal that's 1 year long. So just in recap, for this specific example, we want to buy a $6,000 car. We know we're gonna need $1,200 for the down payment. We're gonna divide the $1,200 into 12 months. How much do we need to raise per month? $100, which ends up being anywhere from $3 to $4 per day. Taking those crazy dreams, turning them into small, actionable steps. Now we're gonna jump into having you turn your goals and turn them, and using this strategy and turn them into actionable daily steps. Now it's your turn. What is that crazy dream you had at the beginning of this video series, at the beginning of the Change the World book, that now you're ready to turn into a goal and take action on? Let's go ahead and jump into it. That specific goal that you have, you need to take the first step and make it a very specific thing. Whatever that goal is, make sure it's a specific thing. In the 3 examples that we saw, instead of saying, I want to score more touchdowns, the specific goal was scoring 10 touchdowns. In the second example, instead of saying, I want to read more, now you're saying, I want to read 12 books. The third example that we had is buying your first car. Instead of saying, I dream or I want to buy my first car, I wish buying my first car, you say, I will raise $1,200 in 1 year. So make that goal very specific. Whatever your goal is, and there's a spot for you right now to write it down, whether it's in a notebook, whether it's in the notes section of your Change the World book, to be able to put the specific goal that you have. Next, we're gonna go into the M, measurable. How is it measurable? Take that big dream that you had, take that goal that you just set for yourself and break it down. Divide it up into small daily actions. The easiest thing that I can say is if it's 1 year that you want to achieve that goal, divide it by 12 months, then divide it by 30 days. And what do you have to do on a daily basis to be able to accomplish it? A, is this goal attainable? Are you in the position right now with the tools and resources that you have to be able to take that first step? If you're not, then you need to find the people and ask for help to be able to get into that position. Don't let anybody tell you that you can't accomplish those dreams and goals, but you need to make sure that you're preparing to be able to make it a success. Next, you need to think about, how is this goal relevant? What are you going to get out of it once you achieve it? Is it going to help you in your personal life, in your education, in your career? How is this goal relevant to you? And last but not least, we need to make sure there's a deadline and that this goal is time bound. Now, as you can see, there's blanks right now. So I want you to fill in the blanks, whether it's in your own notebook, in the notes section of the Change the World book, and make sure that you're on the right track and you have this game plan now written down to be able to achieve your goals. In the next section, in the next video, we're gonna talk about the most important thing, which is taking action. Now, we've already been preparing for this moment, and now we're ready to take the first step and turn all of your dreams into reality. We'll see you in the next video.